Hi, this is a developer vlog for me, Ollie. I recently quit Amazon as a data scientist to start building AI agents out in the wild. Um, Currently working with a client within finance, a hedge fund, and helping their portfolio managers to do their research better and quicker. Today, we're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about the current state of building these AI agents in the wild. Secondly, we're going to talk about what I think are some predictions that I want to have. And then thirdly, also some insights along the way. There's three topics within those that we're going to talk about specifically. First, we're going to talk about AI agent workflows. Then we're going to talk about workflow automation. And then we're going to talk about AI voice and voice companions, or AI companions as they go by. So let's start with the first one. Chatbot workflows. This is, I think, the most common one that most people are familiar with, where you have a customer that is asking some sort of question that you need to answer as the engineer, scientist, MLE, whatever. The whole goal here is that the user will input a question and you need to find the answer to that question. What the right answer is depends on your use case. Evaluation here will be key. And what is the main part here is that you need to find what is the actual often asked questions that is being asked by the user. So in, let's say, this finance case, you would have research based questions. So let's take something as an example, like, is Sweden doing better economically today than it did 1 year ago? In this case, you need to have your agent actually like figuring out, okay, so what are some good metrics for this? What are some, let's say, execution plan that we need to do this, and then retrieve the information? What are good sources to retrieve this, etc. Super, I say, current state applicable for these questions are research. So like this use case, I'm enjoying working with at the moment. As long as you focus on something that is specific to specific industries, meaning that like you tailor this whole workflow towards specific industries. So I found it difficult when you need to do an agent to do very broad things. If you can do it as a specific task, a specific type of task, you can much easier evaluate it and debug it and like improve it incrementally along the way. And building smaller workflows of unique agents doing small tasks is what I'm picking nowadays 100% over anything autonomous. I've tried it. I really, really wanted it to work with having autonomous agents solving my problems just one after one naturally. But breaking it down when it comes to debugging and figuring out what is going wrong throughout the like reasoning process along each agent is just a pain if you let it being autonomous compared to when you do it with workflows, at least in my experience. Future prediction here is that I think workflow automation agents will be very much a growing industry in the next year. This is the area that I'm keeping out on a look at for the most as well when it comes to that. Maybe not general agents will be coming this next year, but I think this is of course the one that most people are the most excited about, when you can feed an agent any type of like question within your domain and it will be able to do that. But for now, I'm feeling templates, something that is more targeted, just much more reliable when you want to actually put something into production. Okay, next topic. Workflow automation with visual agents. This one is very close to my heart just because I find it so useful. So there's, for example, this open source framework that is called Browser Use. I'm mentioning this just because I really like their service. I think it's really well done so far. I think they got into the YC batch with this as well. And overall, it lets you basically give the like LLM a task and then actually use a browser to execute that task by looking through the page. So instead of needing to like parse through HTML code, JavaScript, you're actually letting it just see the actual what's on the page. Super, super useful. You can do it both on the browser itself, but also on your Mac. I think it's like a separate one as well. And this one, of course, can have clear implications on if you want to make sure that you do workflow automation. The thing here that is really simply seeming to be working is that you give it a very clear, non-ambiguous task. And the biggest, most important thing in it all is that you have a very clearly written SOP, meaning the instructions of the standard operating procedure, meaning what exact steps needs to be done here to make this work. That's what wins the game so far right now. The challenges currently here is giving agent ownership of what to do. So here you're letting it take multiple steps along the way, but you need guardrails. It needs to be containerized in a very secure way, because security and reliability is the most important part here. If you're an enterprise business and you're going to deploy this onto, let's say, thousands of your workforce's computers to then do operations on those laptops autonomously, yeah, this needs to be locked down and not being able to be like doing something that it's not supposed to be doing. Future prediction I would have for this one is, I think this will be a hot topic. I think this is probably the one that I'm the most excited about when it comes to like automation side of things, rather than when it's coming to knowledge work. So this one will be something I'm very much will be tinkering with. If anyone is keen about this area, give me a shout in the comment. I'd love to talk more about this part. Then finally, the thing that is also very close to my heart, just because I like the idea of it. Maybe few people do, but when it comes to AI agents that is working like a voice companion, and you have it for any task where you want to just have a chat. ChatGPT is doing this quite well. Will explain something like a concept quite clearly. I think that it will probably soon come up a rubber ducky app. I would use it if I could talk to, like before when I had a senior applied scientist in Amazon that I can just talk through my code with. It helps so much to just have someone that knows it a little bit, but also just is there to listen to you. The current biggest blocker I find with these softwares at the moment is that the end of sentence predictions are just not great. It's often using a what do you call it, like just time-based system, so that if you're, for example, having that the user is not responding by just sheer volume within a certain time, then it just automatically answers. But the thing that we need to get this to is that the end of sentence predictions realizes that the user is not finished with their sentences. That little gap, the AI needs to figure out, is actually like something that can be paused and not interrupted the user by. And all of this is done with a little bit of engineering of end of sentence predictions, where you just add that as a step or a condition that, like, if the user's sentence makes sense, that it has a stop in it, then don't start to answer what has been put in so far. Something that I feel like is currently not working is a lot to do with just my expertise when it comes to very lacking in non-HTTP oriented requests. So when you need to have a live connection, getting something that sets up a live connection, so like WebRTC or similar. I know there's a company called Daily.co that does this with Pipecat Cloud, I think is one of their services. These things are like getting better to get onboarded quite quickly. I think developers, including myself, have just gotten very used to that. For example, if I want to spin something up and test, let's say, like an agentic architecture with LangGraph, I can do that pretty quickly, like a couple of minutes, and just see like roughly what goes on if it's not too complex. But setting up something with the WebRTC side, I'm not feeling that I'm currently able to just git clone, run it, and then it's simply working. I need like to log in here, I need to try this, I need to do, it's like so many things, whereas I just want an API key and just be able to like deploy and test a let's say like a voice based agent quickly and easily. So that's my current pain point. I want better onboarding essentially for that. But if end of sentence predictions, I think, is such a hot topic, I think it'll just be solved probably within a year, hopefully. And after that, I think these supporting kind of like voice, like AI companions, I think will be much, much better to do. Yeah. Okay, let's summarize. The core thing that I want to get across from here is that I think the current state is that even for knowledge work, even for workflow automation, these agents, if you can get them a really great SOP, that's really great. And focus on tasks that have lower complexity for now, but they're doing very often. So something that would be around this area, like around here. Of course, you would want to focus on that it's done quite often. The thing that I would predict for 2026 June is that I would love and see people getting into the web search for agents and make this price go down as much as we're seeing with regular AI agents. So the only context I have currently is that the web searching tool that I'm using is Tably, which is the one that I've found to be just most reliable at the moment for the type of deep research kind of like questions that I'm a user are asking currently. It's 0.08 dollars per credit, and I feel this is just too expensive when you want to run, let's say, like an agent that is querying, let's say, like 500, let's say, web searches, because you want to split down the problem into sub queries and do that. um, I need this to get cheaper, I'll be honest. There might be some infrastructure. I haven't gone down to the level of understanding really like how much compute is actually required for you to do this scrape. Might be some educational side from me on that end, but I need this to go down by like 100x. And I believe that if we can see the same kind of like improvements in performance for the models themselves, I really hope we can see a similar reduction in the web search side of things as well. I think error rates will drop down by twice. So like I think the overall cognitive ability of these models will go up by 2 times, which is, I think, feasible within the next year. The biggest risk I have currently as my watch out for is companies that are not putting in time at the moment to build out great SOPs. Some even government companies might be better than tech companies here. So I think even that this will probably be working well for governments and anything that has like a lot of standard operating procedure documents. And it might be making it more tricky for like startups, because startups don't have time. Governments and older like pension funds and so on might have had that time to like sit down and write nice compliance based SOPs to do the tasks that works easily for an intern or anyone to be onboarded with. Um, the more high quality SOPs that you currently have as an organization, I think you're going to be way easier to onboard these AI agents in your organization. So definitely prioritize in your org to build more SOPs, so that when you can just onboard agents to this, that'll be based on those SOPs, because an agent will not know how to do this unless you tell it how it's done within your organization. So final bit, key learnings, I would say get those good quality SOPs. Second, focus on low error rate tasks if you can. Focus on low cost of error task. If you're currently relying on this to be 100% accurate, agents, I feel, has too much ambiguity to actually give that a full trusting sense. Tracing is everything, specifically in the sense that like being able to debug these things is the core of it. I found the current frameworks with Langsmith and so on. I've really wanted to make this work, but I just feel like it's too convoluted. I think I need something just as simple as just like a markdown file that shows me what happened at each step and what actually was like done and said and thought by each agent. And just trace that easier, so it can be like, I don't know, chucked into ChatGPT. Like, can you just tell me where it looks like something went wrong here? Then, final one, focusing on customer value. I know all of these frameworks and everything are quite shiny and interesting if there comes like a new version of Pydantic AI or something else like that. But I realize that like the customer in this case only cares about, is this solving a problem in a more efficient, more improved way. So remember to just write down a diagram of what are the actual big important pain points for you to solve, and verify that that is actually a good use case for the agent. If they're scraping the same website every single day in a very similar way, don't use an agent. It's just costly. Use the request package in Python, for example, and just like take it there directly. Or yeah, if it is really complex, then maybe consider agents, but don't over engineer this. I've just done it and from an experience, and taking it back, make it simple, make it useful, and that's about it. Thank you for this one. Have a good one. Cheers.